Welcome back. Tomorrow, President Biden and top congressional leaders will sit down for a second time at the White House to see if they can come to an agreement to raise the nation's debt ceiling. In a new letter to Congress, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen is holding to her prediction that if Congress doesn't act to raise the debt limit, default could come as early as June 1st. And there are some who are predicting calamity in the financial markets. The top Democrat on the House Budget Committee, Congressman Brendan Boyle, from Pennsylvania with us now. Good to see you, sir. We appreciate it. Look, over the weekend, President Biden really tried to lower the temperature here. What do you make of the president being willing to sort of go a lot farther than so many Democrats have been willing to go in a willingness to negotiate?
Well, it's great to be with you. And we have said, and I've certainly said from day one, that when it comes to the full faith and credit of the United States, whether or not we would pay our bills, that's a simple matter that cannot be negotiated. Now, when there's a separate question about future spending, either next year or the next couple of years, of course we have to negotiate that. We negotiate that every year, and certainly with a Republican-led House and a Democratic-led Senate, both narrowly, it certainly would be the final product would be as a result of those negotiations. So I have always drawn those distinctions. The president has as well. So in reality, I don't see much of a change here.
Okay, potato, potato in terms of whether or not there's agreements for certain cuts going forward or whether the agreements are tied to the debt ceiling itself. But you say it's not right to hold hostage the full faith and credit of the United States. Both Chuck Schumer and Joe Biden voted against debt ceiling increases. Both of them talked about the need to tie spending to the full faith and credit of the United States. I'm wondering why it's different now that Republicans are doing it.
You know, I have not fully explored the voting records of any and all of my colleagues. I know my own voting record, having cast close to 4,000 votes now in my career. I can tell you that I have voted to raise the debt ceiling with a Republican in the White House. I did it just recently when Donald Trump was president. So it's always been my view, sincerely, that this is not something to play around with. This is about whether or not we're going to pay a bill that has already come due. The question about future spending is a separate matter.
Okay, fair enough. But let's just say there is a negotiation of some type. Now the president's involved. You could see a very real situation where President Biden and Kevin McCarthy agree on something along with Chuck Schumer. And therefore, you get something through the Senate with Republicans and Democrats voting for it. The president says he's going to sign it. And you've got Kevin McCarthy there with Republicans and members of the House who are not going to vote for it. McCarthy will not have the votes, depending on what the compromise is. Would you be one of the Democrats willing to buck a lot of Democrats who said, I'll never vote with Republicans on this?
Well, I think you have a couple hypotheticals in that question. First, I mean, I have never said myself, and I think this is the case with most of my Democratic colleagues, I have never ruled out partnering with Republicans to raise the debt ceiling and ensure we're able to pay our bills. It has to be done so responsibly and not attached to things that I simply wouldn't agree to. I do think, though, in the end, that whatever is the negotiated end game to all of this, I imagine that it will have more than enough votes to pass if you have all four caucus leaders and the president on board. I think that's just the simple reality.
All right. Fair enough, Congressman. We appreciate you being here. Thank you very much, sir. Good to see you. I suspect you'll be in demand over the next couple of weeks for sure. Chris, bring you in. There was a needle there that he threaded that was very, very thin.
He is good.
Yeah.
He is good. His communications office today feels good. They like him. They're giving him a donut because he stayed on message and didn't lie. He wasn't weird. He just kept it to himself. He talked about what he was going to do. But I think your question was a very good one, which is the reality for Kevin McCarthy is that whatever is agreed to here is not going to have every Republican, right? There's nothing that he's going to come up with, and he's going to need Democratic votes. And Kevin McCarthy's going to, so he has two choices that he's going to, two difficult moments he's likely going to face. Number one, do we keep the Hastert rule? Do we say that whatever comes to the floor has to have a majority of House Republicans? tough. So if he can get over that, he's still probably going to be short of the majority that he needs, the 218 votes that he's going to need to get it through. So then you got to start calling Brendan Boyle and saying, please help. Will you please come over and help us get this through? And then that's another round of negotiations. And that's why they're going to have, I think, Bob Cusack, will you back me up on this? Yeah. Can kicking is going to have to take place before there's going to have to be stopgap on this before we go to a final deal. Right?
I think so. I mean, as you know, they're not talking about it now, but when you get right up against it, maybe I don't think you can punt it to September.
No,
I think you can punt it for about a month for the August recess.
Oh, so we don't ruin Memorial Day vacations.
Right.
We ruin July 4th vacation.
Right.
Thanks for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to subscribe. Click the red button to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.